right, it looks like we're up and running. I think eventually, what will be the next best move is to get like a mirror so I can see if the camera's still rolling. I think my phone's on like a good battery percentage, so I'm confident with what it's sitting at. But yeah, welcome back to a new video, guys. Christos Anesti, to my Greek Orthodox brothers and sisters, and to anybody else that's watching. Yeah, it just means Christ is risen. And then if anybody says it to you, you're supposed to say alithos anesti. I believe that's how you say it. But yeah, Lent's over, and I had enough points to get this cheese bread. So yeah, and I already prayed. I prayed actually like 15 minutes ago over the food. But the spot I was in, there's like it's like way over there, but there's like a Chipotle over there in the same plaza the Domino's is at. But it was like too many cars and like it's kind of noisy. So I came to this spot that's like one building over from the laundromat that I go to for my clothes. You might hear a helicopter in the distance. It's like everything that is to like distract me or to like make the video like distracting for the viewer too. It's like it's got to show up now. But glory be to God for helicopters and people who know how to run them, you know. But yeah, so recently, as you guys know, we just had Easter. Christ is risen. Basically, the most important day in history. And I want to talk about what I've learned throughout Lent, Holy Week, some things that happened in Holy Week, and the Good Friday and the Easter service itself. I think both Good Friday and the Easter service itself, to me, those are like the two services that put a nail in the coffin for anybody inquiring into Orthodoxy. For any high church Protestants, like, it is so rich with church teaching, is like, you just have to be convinced. There's no other way, you know? I'm not going to sit here and say Orthodoxy should conform to whatever you want, you know? But yeah. So Lent. So I'm going to talk about that first. So what I learned throughout Lent was I need to work on controlling my appetite and controlling, you know, my spending of money on food. Because I would say like that's like one of the main things I have to work on. And yeah, granted, I'm eating this, but I had free points, so in your face. And then I also learned that I didn't really take Lent and ramp up the virtues that I should have been working on. I didn't take it as seriously as I should have. But I'll give myself some grace and say it is my first year. But I should have also, like, you know, pushed myself a little more to be conforming to the actual restriction of, like, you know, of the foods and the things you shouldn't consume during the Lent fast. But next year, I'm going to take it as close to the T as I have to by next year. I think I'll be confirmed. But I have to follow it to the T. It's going to be hard, but I think there's somebody in the church, her name is Step, and she knows like a lot of, she's like a food connoisseur. So I'm going to, you know, I'll ask her for some help, and then I'm sure there's like a book somewhere that has like recipes that I can look at. All right. And it feels like Lent, for me, was both short and long. Some of my fellow catechumens, young adults, oh, that's good. Some of my fellow catechumens and young adults were like, man, it's just, It just feels like we've been in Lent forever. That's what my buddy Kyle said, and I was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. And now we're getting back to less, like only one service a week, and just like less opportunities to be at the church. Granted, I could go make an appointment with my priest. I could do that. I have the young adults class, but that's every 2 weeks. But still, it's the young adult class. It sneaks up on me quicker, like very quickly. Even though I know we're supposed to be reading a book, I'm technically 1.5 chapters behind, but I'm just gonna skip and go to chapter 5, and the next 2 weeks I'll try to catch up. Because that's another thing too. I learned during Lent. I spend way too much time on YouTube. Like I doom scroll too much, so I need to work on that too and just read. I like actually intentionally sitting down and reading. I think that's what more people need to do. We gotta sit down and just like read. It's better to absorb information that way. And Lent has definitely taught me that I still have the old man, as it's referred to in the word. The old man still has things about himself that I still need to shine the light upon and illumine and to work on. And I think that's exciting. Now, Holy Week. Holy Week to me was interesting. I'm not gonna sit here and say I had like a battle or whatever, but so recently, the past few weeks, I've been dealing with car issues. I've sunk too much money into that thing, trying to fix it. The money that I put into the car, I could have paid it off and then some. But me, I'm not the financial wizard, but actually I'll get to that, because by the end of Holy Week, I actually was illumined to the fact about something about money. But Monday night, Holy Monday, I had put my car at the mechanic shop using my roadside assistance. That's another thing. I gotta email my insurance agent to like reimburse me for the out-of-pocket expense. But that's a whole other thing. But the rest of the week, Tuesday night, my brother drops me off at my buddy Kyle's house. And he just so happens to have, well, it's not a house, it's sort of like an apartment. He had a spare room, so I stayed with him. And glory be to God for such a, how do I say it? It's not a bad thing. For such a generous brother, really. Like upon my request, I was like, hey, I saw you had a spare room. In my head, I was like, it'd be a cool idea if I spent Holy Week with him. And to be honest, it was a really, really good experience. So Tuesday, I get there, I settle in, and then I get to sleep. Actually, I do the prayer, the bedtime prayer canon. I do that with him, and I go to sleep. I get up the next day. I make 2 PBJ sandwiches for breakfast, and then the only thing I brought with me was a scooter that I took from my little brothers in the garage. And then I scoot all the way to the racetrack. When I looked it up on maps, like how long would it take for one to walk there, I had like an idea how far it would be, but it was like 52 minutes to walk from where I was at to the racetrack. And so I was like, okay, good thing I have a scooter. The scooter was hard enough. I think it's because of like the additional weight for my backpack, but it took me about 25 minutes to get there, which is, it cut the walking time in half. So I see really how truly efficient a bike is. I would have gotten to the racetrack in like probably like 12 minutes if I would have had my bike. If I would have had a bike. So I get to the racetrack. My brother gets there like literally 10 minutes before we got to go to work. Thursday, my buddy Kyle tells me, hey, you know, like I actually plan to attend the services in the morning, so you could just wake me up and I'll drive you to work. So he drove me to work, and my brother drove me back to his place, and the next day I go to pick up my car at the mechanic shop, and by the time I get there, they actually start working on it. And now I bought additional parts for it. I bought brake rotors. Turns out the front rotors were like not the right ones, even though I don't know, Rock Auto apparently, I'm kind of iffy about Rock Auto now, kind of, because of that. I spent like roughly a good $60 on those rotors, and it said it fits my vehicle, but whatever. They put in the back rotors. They put in the new brake pads. The last fuel injector they put in there, and the new oxygen sensors that I got from Amazon. And that took about 2.5 hours. And then they also put in the lower ball joints for my car. Let's see what else they do. And then since it was gonna take so long, I told the mechanic, I was like, it's okay, I got nowhere to be. I was planning to attend a 3:30 service that day. I ended up not making it. And then the next thing the mechanic tells me to do, after I pay him $300, even though I was like, whoa, that's okay, I'll just pay it, whatever. Don't ask me. It just happened. He told me, hey, you got to go to the Honda dealership to get a car's software engine update. I was like, okay, never heard of that, but whatever. Go to the Honda dealership. I tell him the same thing. I get on the phone with the mechanic and have him explain to the service consultant what I need done to the car, because apparently I didn't explain it. To be honest, I don't think I explained it very well. So, you know, I'll give him credit. I'll give the service consultant credit on that. I'm in the waiting room for like roughly 30 minutes. Come out, pay $100, even though it turns out the PCM software was already up to date. There's nothing they could really do unless they wanted me to pay an extra $194 to do like an inspection just to see what's going on. I was like, dude, I at this point I already spent $400 and it's payday on this car. I was like, dude, I got it, because prior to this, in my head throughout Holy Week, I was telling myself, I only got 2 more repairs in me and then I'm done with this car. That day I decided I'm done with this car. I'm done with it. I love my 2010 Honda Accord. I love it, but it's got to go. So I drive it out of the dealership. I drive back. I'm driving towards Sarasota, and the same codes are still there, and the VSA check engine light to lights are up. So I'm like, okay, I'm feeling the idle of the car too, and I'm like, okay, I don't trust my car. I'm gonna drive it home, and I'm gonna have my brother take me. So on the way back to the house, I call my brother, and he says he's out eating somewhere with my mom. He said, I'll be back in like 40, 50 minutes. And at that point, I think I got to the house at like 5:12. He got back to the house at 6:51. And there was a Good Friday service at 6:30. So I got in the car with him. I drove there. I was still wearing the clothes I was wearing to church earlier that day. So on the way there, I'm telling him what's my plan, what the plan's gonna be. And he drops me off. I walk into the church. I got there kind of late, but since it was just me, I managed to sit next to one of my fellow sisters in the church. Shout out what's a nickname? What's a code name? Tanya. I'll call her that. Shout out Tanya. She had like the Pascha service book. It's like a black and red book, and I was everybody had candles, so I bought my candle, lit it up, and then we were all singing, and I was holding the book with her, because like, you know, she's holding the candle and the book, and she's trying to show me the book at the same time. So, you know, shout out to Tanya for being like a, you know, good sister and sharing the book with me, because I would have been lost. And I was thinking to myself during the Good Friday service, like, thank you, Lord Jesus, for allowing me to be here. You know, granted, I got there late. I think I missed like probably the good part, I guess. So I was only in there for like an hour. And the choir was singing a different hymn that I couldn't tell you the name of. And the day before, there was these older women that were decorating this piece of wooden furniture, but it's supposed to represent the tomb. They were decorating with flowers and green leaves, and it just looked beautiful. And the priest was you know, was doing his thing, and we were all singing the stanza for about a good 30 minutes straight, I guess. And then we all went outside. I guess we went around the church and came back in. And then when we came back in, I had found Step, like sitting a couple rows ahead of me. And so while we were outside, I was trying to wiggle my way through the crowd to get to her. And with Tanya right behind me, we managed to catch up to her as Step caught up with the other young adults who were there. So we all got together and we all managed to sit in the same row, which was really cool. And then Step, you know, like the generous sister she is, she also shared her book with me. And so I would hold I would hold it. And no, actually, wait, I'm thinking of a different service. Man, I forgot the second half of it, I think. I'm thinking of Thursday night. Thursday night is when Step, when I went to the bathroom and came out, I got to stand next to Step for the service, and then she we were holding the book together. I'm thinking of Thursday night, my bad. But I forgot the rest of Friday night. But by the end of that service, I was like, wow, this, like the level of reverence in this service was like top notch. Truly, I mean, not even that word serves it justice. It's like, I wish my Protestant friends could see this. Talk about worship. Sure, the way we're going about it is like ancient, but it's also like, it feels timeless. So I am blessed to be a catechumen of the Greek Orthodox Church. And my first time going to an Easter service, like, oh man, Good Friday and the Easter service, like, wow. Saturday to me was the highlight of the week. Because Kyle, once again, shout out Kyle, dude. Shout out my brother Kyle. and Paul. Kyle was driving. Basically, me and him were like, I was hopping into his car, and he would like drive me and him to the services, and I guess if we were gonna go eat, he would drive us somewhere else. So Saturday morning, we go to pick up Sister Yana. We go to pick up Sister Yana, and she goes with us to the early morning service. And then it turns out the rest, we didn't have nothing to do with the church for about 10 hours. The Easter service was going to start at 11:15 p.m. and it could go all the way till like 2 in the morning. So that whole day, I mentioned to Kyle, I was like, we should just keep her with us the whole time. And if she needs to go get stuff, we can just go back to her house and get whatever. So then we decide to go back to Kyle's place, hang out for a bit, and then we all go towards some place to eat. And then we stop by her house so she can get something. We go to eat. On the way back to Kyle's house, we stop at her house again so she can get something else. And then we go back to Kyle's place, and we're chilling. We're talking, we're hanging out, just having a good conversations with each other. And then I think I took a nap at like 2 o'clock for about 2 hours. And then Kyle went to go take a nap in his room. Ayana was just on the couch reading her Bible. When I was napping, I can hear her flipping pages. Wait, let me check something. Oh. All right, cool. So it turns out I'm only 22 minutes in, so that's pretty neat. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So I'm napping. Ayana's flipping through pages, and eventually, I think I wake up at like 4:50, and then Kyle like comes into the room about 5 minutes later, and then we're discussing like, hey, let's just go to the beach. And that day, I think the sunset was going to be at 7:57, and we decided to get Paul and tell him. He's like, hey, can you meet us at the beach? So then I guess we got ready, went to the beach. But before we went to the beach, Step had invited us over to her apartment for some lamb soup to break the fast. And so during the day, actually before we went back to Kyle's place, I think this was after we ate, we went to a alcohol store to get some non-alcoholic mango carts, and Yanni bought some apple cider because she doesn't drink, respect. After that, I buy a cigar, actually. I bought a cigar there just for the special occasion. We drive back to Kyle's place, then we hang out. I go to sleep, I wake up, hang out a little bit more. Then we go to the beach, and then at the beach, we stop at a bar so that way we could use the bathroom. And then while Kyle and Yanni went ahead inside to go use the restrooms, I was outside with the stuff, and then I got out my rough estimate ruler, hand ruler, as I call it. It's at work, but it's also a chisel. So I got the chisel end and started cutting part of the cigar because I didn't have the cigar cutter. And so, oh man, that thing tastes good. And so I started lighting up the cigar right there on the spot. Took a couple puffs. I know how to smoke it. You just leave the smoke in your mouth. But it did have a rich tobacco flavor. They come out. I go inside. I go to the bathroom. I come out, and then we make our way to the beach. And as we're walking, we find a spot, and then we call up Paul to come find us. he finds us, he comes, sits down with us, and then we all just hang out and talk and drink our Mango Cart beer. Shout out Kyle for putting me on Mango Cart beer. Non-alcoholic though. And then we watched the sunset. And then while we were waiting on the sunset to go down, we were just having a conversation just about the faith and, you know, what our, you know, just talking about our good future in Orthodoxy. And watching the sunset go down, it was a magnificent thing. I never took, recently, you know, I haven't been taking time to go view such a beautiful thing. Because I know people pay lots of money to come to this town to enjoy the beaches and to enjoy the restaurants and maybe the city life. I would say Sarasota is probably more of a tourist town than Bradenton is. But after the sunset went down, we made our way back to the cars. We drove Paul to his car, and then we made our way off the island. And then Yanni wanted to eat something. Kyle said, "Yeah, I want to eat something too." Or maybe it was Kyle said something about eating, and then Yanni agreed, and then I kind of agreed too. So we decided, like, hey, we got to find something to eat. We got to find something quick. And so Kyle drove us to his local Walmart. We went in. I got a pizza Lunchable, the pepperoni one. Kyle, like the genius he is, he comes up with this kava, this bowl that is like similar to what Kava serves, like Kava the restaurant. Kava is a banging restaurant, to be honest. So they eat that, I eat my pizza, I go shower and get ready, and then we make our way to the service. And then somebody else was texting me too, and they're waiting up on me, wondering where I am. And so we get there at about 10:50, and we find our row, we sit down. I send Step a text about like, hey, you know, you guys should try to sit with us if you can, so we could all be together. I like sitting with all my young adults, because it just feels better to worship our Lord Jesus Christ together. And then the Easter service began. I can't tell you really what happened. I was just in the moment, and I don't have the best memory. But the part that was the most interesting to me was when Father Kyriakos closed the doors. He closed the doors of the royal gates, and he had like a blackout, something blocking, like the royal gates have like, you know, holes because of the design, so you could see through it. He had something black covering that, so we couldn't see what was going on the altar itself. And so he's like, the light of Christ illumines the world. And he had this candle, and I believe the flame came from the altar and held it up in front of the church, and he came out, and some of the clergy walked up and had their candles lit by his candle, and then they went around to light up other people's candles, and then everybody else was sharing the flame as it was going down. And what a beautiful thing. Seriously, what a beautiful thing. And they had already turned off the lights at this point. And so the room, the whole chapel itself was being lit up by the numerous candles being lit up by the flame of Christ that came from the altar itself. Wow. And Let me see. The next thing that happened was Father Kyriakos told us, you guys are going to exit on the side doors. And so everybody slowly went out the side doors and we all went to the front. And then we sung the Cristo Anesti. We were singing that the whole time for about like 20 minutes, I guess. And then he was reading the Holy Gospel to us. And outside too, I had a couple of my young adults, like their candles went out, but mine was still lit the whole time because I was guarding it with the paper pamphlet with the English phonetics to the Christos Anesti song that we were singing. But I was like guarding that thing, keeping it real close to me. I could have risked burning the paper, but this is the flame of Christ. You got to keep it lit. And then after that, then I think everybody started to go down the middle to get in, and then maybe go back through the sides of which they came from. And then I tried to go back in the side that I came out of, and the door was locked. But then as I was walking away, somebody was like, "Oh, Edgar, look, somebody opened the door." So then I turn around and I go back the doors that I came out of, and then all my young adults, we got to sit in the same row, and Step and Tanya got to sit with us too, which was nice. And then we were singing Christos Anesti, like we were celebrating Christ's resurrection and his trampling upon death with his foot. You know what I'm saying? Awesome service. And then eventually, after the candles were lit up and everybody was coming back in, a lot of people left after that. After they got the flame of Christ, people left. A lot of them left. And so after everybody got in, there was like a considerable number of people that stayed. And then we had a divine liturgy. And once everybody did communion, we did our dismissal, and we got eggs this time. Now this was an interesting thing that Step told me about. So these eggs that we had, they're hard boiled. So the game is that you're supposed to smack an egg on top of another person's egg, and the last person to not have their egg cracked has luck for the rest of the year, something like that. So I thought that was interesting. So we played it at Step's apartment. I'm getting way ahead of myself. So after the service, we went to Step's house. She has a nice apartment, really. I texted her this, but I was like, it's so intentionally fabricated to feel like a home, even though it's not my home, And she had this awesome lamb soup. It tasted very, very similarly to caldo. It's this Mexican soup that Mexican moms make on the hottest days of the year, or when the whole house is like gonna get sick, or if it's gonna be winter time, then they bring that out. But this lamb soup tasted just like it, and I had like 5 bowls of it. And I think at that point, I had drank most of the non-alcoholic Merlot wine, and I had some of her wine. Her wine was like strong aftertaste. Ugh. Strong aftertaste. But I still drank it out of respect. And I've learned over time to appreciate harsh drinks for their taste. So, eating the soup, just enjoying one another's company. And then we play the egg game. Paul wins, and it turns out there's a strategy to it. And yeah, kudos to Paul for winning. Then we leave with some cookies. Me and Kyle make it back to the apartment. And then on the way to the car to leave Step's apartment parking lot, my flame went out. But Kyle was like, hey, we should go tell Step and she can bring her candles so we can like have our candles relit with the flame of Christ. So that's what happened. Step went all the way back up to her apartment, bless her heart, came back down, we lit our candles, and then I make my way to the car, I get in, and then we drive all the way back to the apartment. And we probably looked crazy holding multiple candles in a car at the same time, you know. We get to his apartment, and we have to make the roughly 150-foot walk to his apartment. My candle, I was holding it like this with the paper pamphlet. I was holding it like this, and it went out about halfway there. His strategy was he walked to the building and hung close to the wall. So I went ahead and unlocked the apartment door so that way he can get in with the candle. And then he got in with the candle. I lit my candle up, and then I took it to light up my 2 little candles and put those in front of my icons. And then he stuck his fingers in the flame, and for some reason the flame didn't burn me. Apparently it's a whole miracle in itself. You guys can go look that up for yourself. It's whatever, but it's not whatever. Sorry, but he had stuck his fingers in the flame to get the soot or the ash or whatever, and he made the sign of the cross on his door. And I was also like dealing with like this internal emotion thing when I was at Step's apartment for some reason. So I had my big candle that I had at church, and I was praying to the Lord. I was like, Lord, you know, these emotions that have come upon me, like, let them not distract me from the fact that you came back from the dead, you know. And so I prayed this, and then I did my small nighttime prayer, went to sleep, woke up at 5 because we had another Vesper service at 11 a.m. Sunday. So I went to sleep at 5 in the morning. Went to sleep at 5, woke up at 9:30. And then I kept waking up over and over and over until I woke up Kyle to drive us to the church. And I woke up fine the next day. I woke up fine the same day, put it like that. Went to the Vesper service, Paul showed up. Step, I think, went to Tampa. Natalie went Tanya. I keep mixing up her name. Tanya went somewhere else. And so it was just like me, Kyle, and Paul that showed up. And then Yanni, poor girl, she couldn't stay the whole Easter service because she got sick as we were coming back into the building. Poor girl. You know. Lord willing, I hope she could stay the whole service next year. After the Vesper service this past Sunday, we went to go to Wicked Cantina. It's a restaurant in Sarasota. Went there, me, Paul, Kyle. We sat down, and then we were just like chatting up about the whole week, just having a good conversation. And you know, we were also like, you know, like we were talking about guy stuff. You know, like man, like there's this girl that I like, but I don't know how to approach her, like that kind of thing, you know. And then we were just talking about how awesome the Easter service was. And Kyle said this perfectly. It's like wow, I can't believe it's over. Like, sure, we went to this Easter service at like 2 in the morning, but like, I know tomorrow it'll feel like, wow, it's over. And so after we ate, I went back to Kyle's place, took a nap for a while, and then we left from my house at about 4:30. And I was just giving him thanks for what he did for me throughout the week, and he said, all glory to God. He said, all glory to God, truly. Get to my house, I go in, and my family does this thing where we have like the confetti eggs or the eggs filled with flour, and we just like slap them on each other's as a game. So I went outside, participated in that. I got a shower cap this time, which was a tremendous help. Had fun with that. Just simply enjoyed the family's presence. And then went to sleep, went to work, which is today. And here we are. I love the Orthodox Church. I really do. Like the level of obedience that Christ calls us to be through his church, it is at such a higher level in respect that for any true believer, you really have to examine yourself. You really have to ask yourself the tough questions, like, am I really following Christ? Am I really developing the virtues? Am I really, struggling with something? Because everybody, like, even if you are like super patient, there's still other areas of your life that still demand attention, And I'm only a few months into Orthodoxy, but I'm completely sold. The teachings alone were like really good for me, but what sold it to me was how we worship. There's something innate inside of me that just, when I went to my first liturgy, I didn't turn back. And I was faithful to my Baptist church for 7 years. Never stepped out. Never went church shopping, My first liturgy, I was sold. I stayed. And ever since, I haven't regretted it. I first went into that church alone, but now I came out with good friends. I came out with fellow young adults that I wish to grow old with, to have my kids play with their kids, to be there for them when times are tough, and to come together during the important times of the year. And as for on that note, I'm gonna hang out with Kyle and Paul more often, and definitely for like Pentecost, Lent, Easter. I'm definitely gonna hang out with them. And I told him, like, hey, look, what if me and Paul stayed with you during the whole? Actually, no. Paul probably wants to spend time with his mom. Paul is such an amazing, humble guy. Truly, I like being around him. At first, I thought he was older than me, but it turns out I'm a year older than him. Man, and he's a stud. I just gotta put it out there. And Kyle's a stud too. Shout out Kyle and Paul. Let me text something. All right, the camera's still good. And so I told Kyle, hey, what if I stay with you during all of Lent next year? He was like, you might get tired of me by the end of that. I was like, dude, Well, if that were to happen, well, guess what? It's more opportunity to work out my obedience to Christ, you know? And it's a way for us to deepen our relationship, you know? Like, granted, the people that I'm cool with now, who knows? I might butt heads with them later on. I might come into disagreements. No, like, human relationship is perfect. There has to be nuance, and there has to be a time where disagreements happen, you know? Even if I get it, even with my wife, you know, I will try my best to be a servant to her and to try to be the best husband I could be. I know at some point, you know, we're gonna butt heads, and you know, but that's just the thing with human relationships. We live in a fallen world, but we have the power of God and the sacramental life of the church, which is basically the life of the Holy Spirit in the church. We have that to help us become the people, to strive to be the people that Christ wants us to be. It's an ever-going process, you know. It's not something that's going to be like a one and done thing. And so, yeah, I would say this is my testimony of like Holy Week, Lent, and Easter, Pascha, and Good Friday. Just, if you guys get a chance, you gotta go to an Orthodox church and get your butts in an Orthodox church. And I'm just a guy on the internet, and I don't know, I like being an open book and just sharing my thoughts, because who knows, maybe somebody out there will benefit from it, and I hope they do. You know, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, you know. I think I'm smart-ish. I can kind of comprehend higher level stuff, higher level intellectual things, but to sometimes explain it to somebody, that's where I can fall short. So my communication hopefully gets better over time, so I can explain what goes on in here and in here to you. And glory to God for such a wonderful church. And I realize I have a lot more work to do. I really do. But I'm hopeful. Oh yeah, and I gotta give you an update too. This was another thing too that I noticed during Holy Week, is when the car was at the shop, I think it was Tuesday, I was just plagued with this like nagging anxiety about like the car not being fixed. It's not gonna work. Oh, it's not gonna work. Oh, the car's not gonna work. It's something like that. It's like I'm uncertain about the car's health, basically. So that was plaguing my mind, and I do this thing where if I'm caught up in my head, or if I'm like riled up inside, I tend to like minimize my movements and my thoughts as like damage control almost. And I just kept praying for peace, and I just kept holding it down. Then the next day, actually Tuesday night, we had a service, and I was looking at the icon of Christ, and sometimes I have conversations with him, and there's this voice that spoke back to me and said, he's going to use this against you. The enemy is going to use this against you tomorrow, so keep watch. And the next day, I get a text from a certain someone, and these feelings pop up, and it's just like, it was that nagging feeling again. It was just that nagging feeling again. And whenever I like somebody, and I have to be patient, it can nag at me. Because maybe I want to speed things along, but I also know at the same time, a solid relationship needs time to breathe, you know? Needs time to form and have nuance slow understanding of each other over time. And so when I've been having these feelings for a certain somebody, and it's like what Christ told me yesterday came true, and so I prayed about it, and I held it down inside. I was keeping it as tight as I can reasonably keep it. And then yeah, Thursday night, I was expecting a text from the mechanic's secretary about my car, and then boom, you know the story from there. And then yeah, so after I took the car home, and then I think I was telling Kyle about this on the ride back when he was driving me back to the house yesterday. I told him my plan now is to like lock in and get a new car, because I'm done with this car, and I think I have like $450 in my account right now, if I'm being honest. But in a way, I think it's a good thing that the car did break down. And I think it was a good thing that it happened, because I relied more on Christ than ever before. Because the thing is with the car, I was talking to myself about this when I was riding the bike, is like I let the car becoming like an idol for me almost. Because when the car went down, I would get like in my feelings, I would feel weak, I would feel disconnected from the group. And something else that humbled me a few days, it was Thursday of the week before Holy Week. Kyle had picked me up. No, I managed to get a ride to the young adults class. I get there, I enjoy the class. I'm silent the whole time because I didn't really read the whole time, because I was so caught up in my head about the car. So Kyle drives me back to my house, and what I learned from that, and I was telling him this in the car, is that I don't ask my siblings in the church what I would ask of my family, my biological family. And so maybe in my head, if I'm being honest, it was because in a way I don't trust the church, and or I respect my siblings in the church in a certain way to where I don't want to burden them with my problems. Either way, my ego was involved. And so God, using Kyle, helped to shatter that and to illumine that dark area in my heart. And I was talking with Steph about this, and yeah, she was telling me, hey, I'm glad that you were able to get help from Kyle, because I do this. I think maybe she does the same thing in a similar way. That's what I got from it. We all do, don't we? And so, yeah. Now with the car, I'm just gonna sell it to the Honda dealership, and then my brother has a Hyundai. So far, it's a solid car, and he's willing to let me buy it from him, because he already has 2 cars. And so I'm gonna take him up on his offer, and I gotta figure out, when am I gonna sell this car? What does that process look like? And then get all the other car stuff settled, But I'm gonna take my time with it. I'm not gonna rush it. But yeah, like these past 2 or 3 months have been really awesome for me, and I think it's been good for my spiritual growth, because it goes to show me there's dark areas in my heart that need to be worked on, and I'm in a marathon, not a race. So yeah, but I gotta end the video here. I'm I'll try to find a better spot and to try to get a better angle, because I don't know what this video is going to look like, and I don't really care to edit it, so I just post it. I mean, I'll tweak the ending just to cut off like the dead air, but I don't really edit my video. I just do one thing and that's it. Just post it. Just go for it. But yeah, if this video has like helped anybody, or you went through something similar, just you know what to do. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. If there's something you guys want to hear my thoughts about, just let me know. Like, I'm open to I'm open to giving my thoughts on stuff. And yeah, shout out to the Orthodox Church, really, and shout out to Christ, really. Christos Anesti, he truly is risen. Come on. And yeah, I think this is gonna be the end of the video. God bless you guys, and I'll see you guys later.